Street dieting. Anybody heard about traffic or street dieting? You have, right? This is something that is happening in Los Angeles. It's happening in some other municipalities. It has disastrous results. It's failing everywhere it goes. And it's one of these things where you can be successful. They can be successful if you it depends on how you measure success. Okay, it depends on how you measure success. So a road diet is also called a lane reduction or a road rechannelization as a technique for our planners. I don't know. The number of travel lanes and or effective width of the road is reduced in order to achieve improvements. Now, that's their definition, not mine. I call it insanity. They say that if you reduce the number of lanes on a roadway, you improve safety and you provide space for other modes of travel. Well, here's how they figure out that you improve safety. So let's say you have a really busy 2-lane road, and now you make it an even busier 1-lane road. You can bet that what's going to happen is the amount of traffic on that 1-lane road is going to go down. Okay, because people are going to find other ways to get around it. Okay? And not only that, because now that you have created gridlock, speeds go down. So they can come back to you and say, you know what? We've eliminated a lane, so the speed is down, and the traffic is down, and since there's less cars, the accident rate is down. Look how successful we are. But what's really happening is, when they really do this, you look around the outer edge, and what you've done is you've forced the traffic through residential streets, and you've made them more dangerous. You've increased traffic, you've increased speed on them, and you've probably increased accidents. So they really haven't accomplished much. The other part of this is to provide space for other modes of transportation. What other modes of transportation would you expect you're going to find? Bicycles. Wow, bicycles. I bet if I go out on Soledad, which I'm going to do, I'm going to go out on Soledad. I bet I could probably count going down Soledad, go to work, maybe, 500 to 1 bicycles to cars? 1,000 to 1 bicycles to cars, right? So the idea that you're going to provide a bicycle lane so everybody's going to get out of the car and ride a bicycle is insanity. Okay? It's insanity. And that's part of it. But there are other modes that they're talking about as well. It's used to provide some of the features for adding or widening. Widening. Bike lanes, sidewalks, because more pedestrians. I better count the number of pedestrians walking to work down Soledad and see how many guys I get, right? Center landscape medians. We could make wider center landscape medians, okay? Or tram tracks. Well, we don't have any trams, but I don't want to give them any ideas. Center turn lanes. Now, we're doing that. We're doing that. A reversible lane. Now, that's a really great idea, but we've already passed the idea about this. Well, just realize it. In the morning, if you go down Soledad, traffic flow is mainly east to west. In the evening, it's mainly west to east. Now, there are cities, I've been in cities in back east where they'll take a lane or two, and at certain times it's going in one direction, and certain times it's going in the other direction, reversible lane. They get more traffic flow, but we'll never get that because we've already put medians down the center of all of them, and it kind of prevents that from happening. Right or left turn lanes, we're doing that. And we can always widen some of the remaining traffic lanes. So it's really interesting, because if you read the information about this, they say you can make things safer by narrowing traffic lanes. And then in other places you can read it says you make things safer by widening traffic lanes. How about if you just leave them alone? But we'll see what happens. Okay. So traffic tends to divert to other streets. And that's what they're finding. And they're getting lots of pushback because of that. So some of the examples of that, and we're actually doing this, of having a diet on traffic are roundabouts. Okay? Roundabouts slow down traffic, right? And then traffic calming on parallel streets to discourage traffic from diverting away from the main road. You see that in the San Fernando Valley, don't you, where they have some streets that are closed at certain times. You're not supposed to go cut through that traffic, and if you get caught, you get a ticket, right? Because the rest of it is in such gridlock. So could you imagine? I mean, here we are in a situation where, especially in Santa Clarita, which does not have a grid system, where we need every lane we can find. We need more roads. And the idea that someone might, in the back of their mind, be thinking, we're going to take some lanes away, is insanity. Now, I got to admit to you, I got a call today from the city. I got a call from traffic. Okay, traffic engineer, Mr. Pavetti called me. And he said, Al, what are you talking about here? I saw on your thing you're going to talk about traffic diets. And I said, well, you know, I saw this street that kind of keyed me to that. Now, he claims that the street was striped that way before. And maybe it was. But when I saw it, because it had just been slurry coated and it was really, really nice and pretty and white, you know, the lines, it looked to me like traffic calming. But we'll see. But in any event, what we need to do is make sure here in Santa Clarita that doesn't happen. We don't want that to happen. So the advertised benefit is lower vehicular speeds. Yeah, when you create gridlock, things go slower. Improve pedestrian safety. I don't know. That's one that I'm not sure about, because people start getting nervous, and they're starting. You know, did you notice that it wasn't probably a year, 2 years ago when all of a sudden the lights would stay, when the lights turned red, they wouldn't turn green again for 1 second? You notice that? Did anybody ever tell you here in the city that this was such a great idea that they came up with? Because they didn't come up with it because it's that way all around the state? Okay? But people now are beginning to understand that that's going to stay that way for a second. So I'm watching people start to run the lights again. And we'll see just what happened. And it promotes cycling. And I'm sorry, but I just don't believe it. I think bicycling is great. It's a great thing. Get out. You know, many people that want to do this can get out on the road and go and do that. But going to work, I'm not sure. So my criticisms is I don't want to see anything that creates longer traffic times. If I ask you guys, what do you want to do in the morning when you're going to work? I'll bet you want to get there. All right? I'll bet you. You know, when I was working a long time ago, and I worked in Woodland Hills, and I would come home from Woodland Hills. When I first moved out here, it was like a 35-minute drive. It turned into an hour drive, you know. And my wife still goes and works in Woodland Hills. She loves nursing, and she goes down there and she works at Kaiser in Woodland Hills. And you know what happens when she does it? It takes her 2 hours to get home if she comes here in rush hour. And so, you know what, and can you imagine that someone would say, okay, well, we're going to go up to Soto and we're going to take away a lane because we're going to like that. It's terrible. So it diverts traffic to residential streets. And what's going to happen when the first responders have to get somewhere during peak hours? Isn't that a problem for them as well? And some of the other things that are being brought up now is that in a situation with fires and stuff and you have to do evacuations, we don't want gridlock in those situations. So here was a street that I saw. And some of the things that I saw, and it may very well be, Gus may be absolutely right, that this is the way it's always been, or at least not always been, but has been this way since sometime between 2011 and 2014. But I see a bike lane there with cars going straight on one side of it and cars turning right on the other side. And I want to know, where's the bicycle supposed to be if they're going to turn right? Do they turn around the outside of the car, or are they supposed to go in the lane with the car and turn behind it? I'm not sure. This is down the street, about halfway down. And this is the part that I don't remember. And Gus may be absolutely right. It might have been this way the whole time. We'll go look at some old pictures and see. But here you got a full lane of traffic, could be another full lane of traffic, and it's marked off that you can't be used. And then what annoys me about this is, then with all that space, and you know, all over to the right there, that's the bike lane, which could be over a little the other way, they still don't allow you to park on it. Right? I mean, you know, it's crazy. So this is coming back the other direction. And this is at Golden Valley Road coming back on Center Point Parkway. So you're going east. And here again, here you go. That bike lane is in between right turning cars and cars going straight. And the other side of the street, the bike lane is right next to the curb. So if I'm on a bicycle, I know I'm going to go straight across. When I'm turning right, how do I turn right? Where, you know, do I go around the outside of the cars? Do I go behind the cars? Do I know where the bike lane is? I don't know. Doesn't look safe to me. They claim this is the way it's supposed to be. We'll talk and ask about it. This is the location, which is from the aquatic center is over here, and we're going to go all the way across back to Golden Triangle. So it could be used as a bypass in case the Soledad is blocked and Gold Triangle is blocked, but we'll see. So I'll talk to the city some more, and we'll see if it was that way the whole time. But I tell you what, I think we're in a situation where we don't want to see that, and we ought to make it known to the council now. No traffic dieting. I think we need a lot of calories in traffic. We need those. We need Via Princesa to go all the way through. We need those other roads that have been stalled for so long. And it doesn't seem to be they ever learn. Do you remember when they routed traffic through David Way, and then someone saw Ben's Road and Frank Ferry opened it up? Now the traffic guy said, don't do it. Don't do it. And they did it anyway. Well, all of a sudden, they had cut through traffic. Who would want to go all the way around when you got across the center? And so they put traffic humps there. That was their final answer. And Canvas Linda Vista, just up the street, where Sunset Hills, Sierra Hills rather, needed a second exit. So they tied it to the residential street, and all of a sudden they had a cut through to bypass the intersection down here at Sierra and Soledad. And so you can come up and cut through and created a traffic problem there. Now, the difference between this and the street I'm talking about is it doesn't have the amount of traffic that Decorro has when they did it to Decorro. So there probably is not going to be this huge uprising of individuals that are going to be yelling and screaming about it. But it's still, we need to make sure we don't get it here in Santa Clarita. Any questions? Well, you can do either one. You can do either one. We're an equal opportunity maker.
Well, you failed to add the insult to injury. Why were the roads 4-lane in the first place? There were 2 big, empty, undeveloped fields there and a 2-lane road. So the city or county required the developer to build 4 lanes in order to be able to supply transportation and traffic to these new developments and all these houses, except then the developer charged the people that bought the houses for the 4-lane road. So we bought those 4-lane roads.
Oh, absolutely.
And now the city or county is going to try and take them away. I say they're injuring us. Maybe we need to get our own proposition going.
Well, we'll see what happens. Yes, sir.
Is anyone of the Mensa crew at City Hall actually taking credit for this?
When I talked to Gus, I asked him specifically, is there a plan to do traffic dieting and taking lanes away in Santa Clarita? And he said, no, there isn't. But I also know that you're going to start seeing roundabouts popping up all over the place. And you're going to see one on Sand Canyon. Well, it's 2 on Sand Canyon. You're going to see 3 on Sand Canyon. And it's the same idea. But taking lanes away, he says no. I think what we need to do is we need to get the situation where if, in fact, someone wants to take a lane away, it's got to go in front of the council, and it's got to be advertised so that we can go express our views, because this is absolutely the wrong thing to do. All right?
Okay. We go to the Antelope Valley quite a bit, and they have done the same thing on a rather major road where it's now only 2 lanes, 1 on each side, and it has kept the traffic very slow. I mean, we get very irritated about it. Okay, then in another section, they have a roundabout. And you know what? That is working. So I am very happy about that because you don't have to wait forever for a light to change. So some of that, I think, is a good idea. And people just have to get used to doing it. That's what I notice.
Well, I'd like you to think about the Newhall roundabout. I'd like you to think about the Newhall roundabout. And there's a constant flow of traffic to Newhall Avenue. And there's only one reason why you can get out of a side street. And that's because there's a traffic light just up the street that pulses traffic. If that traffic light wasn't pulsing traffic, you wouldn't be able to get out. And I've seen guys sit on Main Street trying to get into that roundabout, and they can't get in because there's so much continual traffic.
Wow. Well,
so traffic lights, in some respects, pulse traffic, allow people to get in and out of things.
Okay, the other thing that we suspect is that they're getting federal money to do this.
Well, I don't know. It might be. Might be. Yeah, it's interesting you said that we pay for roads, because anybody that believes that when a developer builds a road, that they have donated that money out of their pocket and don't expect to recoup it, doesn't know anything about economics. Okay, they built that road because they want to make money, and it's going to include recouping the cost of what they did, and that's normal. They're not in the business of handing things out.
I would agree that we don't want to do things to muck up traffic, but I think that we do need to look at how do we maintain a flow of traffic while keeping our roadways safe. We've had a lot of pedestrian deaths. When you slow the traffic, people have a better chance of surviving. When you get to like 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, somebody who's struck is going to die, and there's just no two ways about it. What I think the city really needs is to have somebody come in who is an expert in planning these, who has a track record of making sure that roadways are constructed properly, and you have a circulation element that really works for people and moves them along. I've been listening to podcasts about moving traffic and how you do all of that. I'm not convinced that the city has the kind of expertise to do the thing that they want to do, that they say they want to do. So, as to the issue of other modes of transportation, I used to have a bike. I don't have one anymore because to get to the bike paths is too risky, and I don't want to get on the roads. So for people who want to just ride casually, or people who are bicycle enthusiasts, you don't have that connectivity. So I think we need to find ways to create that connectivity.
That's right.
All right? So what I would say is maybe in the future we can find somebody who can come in and talk about this from a planning perspective who's maybe not connected with the city.
Well, I think you're right. I think it has to do with the way we construct bike lanes. And if you recall, this all comes from the Pulse-Camp era, where he would not add pieces until he had a developer that would pay for it. And so it wasn't an idea of generating a way to get around the city. It was an idea of, I want to find someone to pay for it. But remember that one valley, one vision. that the One Valley, One Vision plan changed the expectations of traffic from being free-flowing to almost a gridlock. And that allowed the developers to add additional developments without adding roads.
Well, and we're going to need to transition to incorporate other transportation, microtransit and things like that, because we can't continue just to add roads to build our way. And every expert in traffic will tell you can't just build enough roads to build your way out of congestion. So we have to look at a lot of different aspects of
Okay?
transportation.
Well, we'll leave it at that.